Hey friends, let me ask you a question. Have you ever done something and you knew it was wrong? Of course you have. We all have. But why did you do that? If you knew it was wrong, it violated your values, it was detrimental, maybe even to your own health, your own life, to other relationships, why would you do that thing? Have you ever asked yourself that before? The reason why many of us do that is not because we're evil, we're not malicious, we're not trying to break our own lives. It's because we let our feelings be the leader of our life. And today what I want to talk to you about is that our emotions, they're real, there are data points there, they're valid in an aspect of our lives, but they're terrible decision makers. And if feelings are leading your life, you're self-destructing whether you know it or not. Have you ever stayed in a relationship too long, maybe a friendship or a dating relationship, because it felt too painful to break it off, but you knew the best thing was to set a boundary, cut the ties, change the way that you related, but it was just too hard, or maybe there was just a conversation in a relationship, and the relationship would have been way better if we just had this hard conversation with an employer, or a peer, a friend, a sibling, a parent, spouse, but you didn't have it because it felt too scary. Or maybe there was something you were doing and it was good. Maybe it was, maybe you were working out more, you were running, or you were on a team of some sport, or you were writing a book, or you were doing some project, but you quit because it just felt too hard, or you didn't feel like you had momentum, or maybe you blew your budget last month because it felt so good to order those extra packages from Amazon. When those boxes came to the porch, it was like Christmas morning for you. It just felt good. Those are some of the most seductive traps in modern life. Your emotions are valid, but they should not be leading your decisions. But here's why it's tempting. It's tempting for all of us. Your feelings feel like freedom. Because what ends up happening is you're told repeatedly that if it feels good, you should do it. If you have a feeling about a gut, if you trust your gut, if your heart leads you in a direction, just follow your heart, because that will be true to you. And so it feels like your feelings are going to lead you in a good place. And we see it in movies, we see it in self-help books, we see it in just popular speak. You'll hear it probably on Reels even today if you scroll through your phone. And here's what happens when we do it. It feels validating to us because it feels like it's part of us, because your feelings are real, and they genuinely are real. They're just bad decision makers. Your feelings are real. They have real information, but they're horrible at making decisions. But when you make a decision based on your feelings, it feels validating because it feels like you're telling yourself that's what I should do. That's deeply appealing. It makes the path of least resistance sound like great wisdom. And when you factor that in with the fact that your feelings are real, then you feel like your emotions are, my heart is leading me. A good thing is happening, because feelings do carry information. Fear, it was designed to warn you of danger. Grief, that signals love. Something was lost that you cared deeply about. Anger points to injustice. Something happened, it wasn't right, and you're upset about it. Those emotions are real information, real data points, but data points don't make decisions. You have a GPS probably on your phone, in your car, and when you put in the directions to get to a place, it gives you data points. It might even tell you there's construction on the road or backed up traffic in different places. Listen, there are feelings that we have in our life, and they function a lot like a GPS. There are signals that are there. Let me tell you something about your GPS. Your GPS does not make you drive into a lake. Your GPS is not just a goal for you to beat the time to get to the place that you're supposed to be. And so here's the reality about your feelings. The temptation to a lot of feelings is that it would lead your life. That's rooted in something deeper, usually an emotional pain, that there was something uncomfortable, something different, a feeling of escape. I want to get out of that. And most of us, when we make decisions and we know they're not the right decision, it's not because we're evil. It's not because we're trying to be malicious. It's not because we're trying to destroy our own lives or the lives of somebody else. It's because it's the path from that discomfort to the feeling of comfort. And so we think that that's going to be, in that moment, the best decision, that feeling of getting to the place of comfort is what we idolize in that moment. And so because we want comfort more than we want anything else, we'll do destructive things, sacrificing the future, making decisions that are poor in that moment, because even though we know they're bad, because we want that discomfort to go away. So it's not that we're trying to be evil or malicious, it's that we're seeking comfort. You need to recognize that. Because staying angry in the midst of injustice, sometimes it feels too uncomfortable, and so you seek a release. When you're frustrated because things aren't going your way and it means you got to keep plotting and keep being disciplined and keep moving. Maybe you didn't lose weight quite as fast, and so you keep working out. Well, that would be the good decision to make. But instead, it's not working. It doesn't work for me. That doesn't happen for me. And so the temptation often isn't to be evil. The temptation is to be comfortable. But here's why that's dangerous. Because our feelings are unreliable narrators, and they're dictated by the moment. They're always present tense. And when we pick the present and we sacrifice the future, it's almost always something you're going to regret. We know, studies have shown us, that there's a present bias in our feelings. Your emotions are shaped by things like sleep, hunger, trauma, your social media feed, whether the last text message was an encouraging message or a discouraging message or a heavy thing. We're heavily biased by our history. And that influences our biochemistry. If you think about it, you know this already from experience. You don't make as good of decisions at 2 a.m. as you do at 10 a.m. At 2 a.m., you've got fatigue. Decision fatigue is a real thing throughout your life. You've made a bunch of other decisions. Maybe you just had an argument with somebody and you're worn out already and you wish you had gone to bed at 11, but now you stayed up past midnight and now it's 2 a.m. and now you're going to make a decision. Don't make a decision at that moment. You need to go to bed. Get some sleep, get up the next morning, work out, eat a good breakfast. At 10 a.m., you make a good decision. This is what behavioral psychology calls it, present bias. We always overweight right now and dramatically underweight how we will feel later. And feelings are almost always speaking from the present tense. And feelings also keep you small. Everything significant, worth building in your life requires you to think differently than what your feelings are going to tell you. Your career, your marriage, your relationship with God, your body, your character, they all require future thinking. They all require doing hard things right now that seem like a sacrifice, that will be difficult, that you will want to quit, that you're going to have to do when you don't feel like doing, which requires discipline and consistency and delayed gratification and the willingness to be uncomfortable. None of these are feelings. They are choices. The person who only acts when inspired will always get outworked and outlived by the person who's disciplined. Feelings, they say, wait until you're ready. People who change the world, people who have a life that other people would want to live, they're the people that are willing to delay the gratification and make a disciplined decision, and feelings aren't leading their life. Wisdom literature in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, it says in this book called Proverbs, a book of wisdom, a skill for how to live your life, in Proverbs chapter 3, it says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. So that word heart in the Bible comes from a Hebrew word that encompasses the idea of your mind, your will, the desire to do something moving forward, and your emotions. So it's the inner life. It's your entire inner life is what the heart's talking about. But the verse doesn't say, trust in your heart. That's what culture tells us. That's what we often do. That's oftentimes what we do when we're making a decision that we know is not the right decision, but in the moment we make it, not because we're evil, because we're seeking comfort, it feels like I should do this thing. That's not what it says. It says the opposite of that. It says to trust with your heart. Take those emotions, take those feelings, take those thoughts, and put them somewhere else. And the Bible tells us to put it in someone else, someone who's all present in the circumstances, but also outside the circumstances, can see a bigger picture, someone who's stable, not shaped just by the present tense, someone who is eternal, someone who is the rock that we could build our lives on, someone who knows all things. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, your interior life. Take your interior life and place it on him and not your own understanding. So in the moment, you're going to feel like doing something else, but he's already told you right decisions to make. And you oftentimes know, if you know the Bible, then you know what he said. If you don't know the Bible, you still think, I don't want to make bad decisions. I don't want feelings to dictate this. Well, that's still wise. But then what is going to dictate that? And for those of you who do know the Bible, you want the Lord to dictate those decisions. How? How do I make that happen? Well, here's one thing. First of all, recognize those feelings are real. They mean something. They are data points. And so those data points are telling me some kind of information. That information might be difficult. It shouldn't be the one that makes the decision. The information can be, I feel this way in these circumstances, and you start to recognize patterns, and that requires you to be introspective in your life. But then you take all of that inner life and you place it on the Lord, and you start doing some things consistently in your life, like before making decisions, the power of the pause. How do you pause? It can be 5 seconds. It can be 30 seconds. Maybe it's a minute sometimes. It doesn't have to be days. But just pausing and before you make a decision, saying, why would I make that decision? How am I feeling? What is the information that's packed in those feelings? And what is the right thing to do? And why is it that I feel like doing the wrong thing? And what is that telling me? And then know that the people that are successful, people that do well, whether it's a desire to work out more, whether it's a desire to grow closer to God, whether it's a desire to have a better career, whether it's a desire to have a better marriage, those decisions require commitment decisions. Those are the kinds of things that you determine ahead of time, and it's already been decided almost as if it's happened. See, a lot of people, the reason why they don't work out is they make decisions like this. I want to work out more. I'd like to work out 3 days or 5 days a week. Okay, so it's even tangible. They've got some numbers on it. But that's still not a good decision, because when they go to bed at night, they're going to go, I'm going to decide whether that's one of the days or not based on how I feel when I get up. Okay, that's not going to work, just so you know, because it's always going to be more comfortable to stay in your bed where it's warm instead of getting into that cold room and roll around on the cover than it is to go get sweaty and, do difficult things. But if you make a decision like this is a commitment decision. I'm going to get up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 a.m. And I'm going to work out for 30 minutes or 60 minutes because maybe your reason is you want to lose weight, or maybe your why is, the feeling is, the other motivator behind it is, I make better decisions when I do that. I feel better about my day. I feel more confident just in all the other parts of my life. I've already accomplished something by the time most people have even woken up. There's lots of reasons why that can be behind that, but making a decision, I'm going to get up 3 days a week, and it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That means that decision's already been made, almost as if it's already happened. It doesn't matter how you feel. Now you have removed feelings from the situation. Now you can start to evaluate the feelings. And when you are about to make a bad decision, and you know it's the wrong decision, you pause. Where's that coming from? Why am I thinking? Interrogate your feelings. Start squeezing the information out of them. And what ends up happening is you start realizing, I'm a person who makes decisions ahead of time. And that's more of an identity statement. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, he talks about this. Somebody who says, I'm trying to work out is different than somebody who says, I'm someone who takes care of my body. I'd add somebody who says, I'm developing in my relationship with God is different than somebody that says, I want to know God more. One is going to be based on feelings. The other one's going to be the same thing as with working out. You want to grow closer to God? You've got to have discipline and decisions. You make committed decisions ahead of time that I'm going to spend time with God, because a relationship takes time. So I want to be able to learn what it is to trust in the Lord with all of my heart. Well, who is the Lord? Well, I'm going to spend time reading from the Gospel of John, because that tells me about who Jesus is, that I believe in him. And I'm going to do that this many days a week at this time. Maybe it's at lunchtime. Maybe it's in the morning. Maybe whenever you decide it is. Don't do it when you're decision fatigued at the end of the day. Well, now you're just doing it to get in, and you're probably going to do it based on whether you feel like doing it or not. No, predetermine a decision of when you're going to do that, how you're going to do that, make time for that, block it out as if it's already happened, and you will grow closer to him. Will you always feel like doing it? No. Just like sometimes, those of you who are married, you might say, I have a date night, and write that date night down, and every, first Monday of the month, or every Tuesday night, or whatever you do. But sometimes you're like, man, I'm tired, I don't want to do that. I like the person, don't want to do the thing. Sometimes the person annoys you, and you're like, I don't really like the person right now, and so I don't want to do that. But if you pre-decide, it's already been determined. You're making decisions for the future that you want, not the feelings that you have in the present moment. And what I would challenge you to do is think about who's the person that I want to be, and start making decisions as if you are that person, and what decisions does that person make. And you don't just wait till you're ready. You don't wait till you feel like it. You don't wait till you feel inspired. You sit down one day and you start writing out, here's a couple of goals that I have. And then write them out in a way that I'm going to make a decision that these things are happening. And start living them like they're already happening. And then you start living a life that way. Those decisions have been made and your feelings are no longer your leader. Here's what I want to leave you with. Your feelings are not your enemy. But those emotions are not good decision makers. Feelings are there to point you to something, but they are not the leader of your life. They can be signals, they're not commands. The moment you confuse a signal for a decision maker is the moment that the signal takes the steering wheel of your life and you start making decisions that you think, why would I ever do that? Because it felt right in the moment. And no one is happy with a life that's lived that way. I believe God's got a life for you. He has a lot in store for you. Those of you who don't know the Lord yet, I know that that's the first thing he wants for you, is he wants you to come to know Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Those of you who know Jesus as your Savior, but maybe you kind of relegate him to church or spiritual things or whatever, as if he's not caring about what's happening at work or with your body or in your marriage or with your finances. Remember, Proverbs chapter 3 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Not your own understanding. It's not just your thoughts that you have. Certainly not your feelings. Everything interior. Take your whole interior life, place the weight on him. Those feelings, they're real. The feelings, they matter. They are not your leader. The Lord Jesus wants to be the leader of your life. If this resonated with you, share it. Share it with somebody else. Hit the like button. Hit that bell subscribe, or hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification button on there. If there's somebody you know that needs to hear it, or you'd like to dialogue over it, share it with them. Have a conversation. Put something in the comments. I think it's better when we have a conversation. Maybe I missed some stuff that you'd like to add. Please feel free to do so in the comments. Maybe you disagree with something I said. I'd love to interact with you in the comments. Please let me know. But I hope that you're building a life that's on purpose and not on impulse. Until next time, be unleashed and on mission. I'll see you.